Hey everybody, we're live and welcome to another night of great conversation with my longtime friend Vasu Vadapati. And
Right.
Vasu, without any other further stuff, let's get to it because as you and I and everybody else in the house knows who happens to be, who happens to have joined us, right? Who happens to be joining us, I should say, not joined, but because that means they joined, they hated us and they walked away. Don't hate us. Stick around. Don't hate. Don't hate. As I say, don't hate. Don't hate. All right. As everyone who has joined us or will be joining us or is on right now knows, forget that zero right there. That zero is actually not really true. It's actually three people. Hey, everybody. Uh, as everybody knows, okay, Cam Newton is a New England Patriots quarterback unofficially until all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But look, well, basically they are because hey, they've announced the terms of the deal. And when I heard that Cam was the man and Cam was signed and Cam was as Stevie Wonder would say ostensibly signed, sealed, and delivered. It would say I can't think of it any other way. But my reaction, I was leaving Kroger, having shop for my mom, and I pulled over. I heard it, okay, and I pulled over, and I stopped the car, and I just was like beside myself. Fired up the camera, okay, and uh, and then I kind of let loose with well, I'll show you what I'll show you what I let loose with, folks. I kind of went out of my head, I guess you could say, and
Vitriol.
so I did. I said the first thing that was on my mind, Vasu, and this is what I did right here. All right, I'm just letting her rip.
All right.
Here it is.
I had to pull
All
over.
right.
Cam Newton signed with the New England Patriots. Nice. The one deal that everybody in the freaking country was pulling for to happen happened. Cam Newton out there. Carolina Panthers got rid of him. Didn't even put him on the greatest of all time list, GOAT list, even though he is the Carolina Panthers GOAT. Period. The man can run. He's played in 3 consecutive different offenses during his college time. He was the man that Mike Mayock, who is now the GM of the former Oakland Raiders, now Las Vegas Raiders, said had no heart. Had a heart. Set many different records during his Panthers career, including for yardage. Number 3 on the all-time rushing list, regardless position. You hear me? Okay? A man who really, if the Panthers, Mike Shula, as offensive coordinator under then head coach Ron Rivera, had gotten a clue during the 50th Super Bowl, would have thrown fly passes, okay, you're hearing me, to Ted Ginn Jr., all right? They never even tested the Broncos that way. Would have won the Super Bowl, the 50th Super Bowl, all right? Instead, they gave the Panthers the game, and what did Cam come away with? Constant runs of a fumble, courtesy of the great outside linebacker defensive end Von Miller. Oh, this is the kind of deal I'm talking about. Maybe Bob Kraft and the Patriots woke up and said, "Oh my goodness, why are we waiting on this man? This is a George Floyd deal, all right? You gotta put it on George Floyd, okay? The murder of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter has opened this crap up for stuff that should have happened, but didn't happen because of race. And now it's happening because people are realizing that racism is a mental illness. This changes everything. He has a 1-year incentive-laden deal. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube and bookmark OaklandNewsNow.com.
So there you go. So,
Very nice.
hey,
Very nice. That
I,
was about as fired up as I've seen you. I've known you 18 years.
Joined out by
That's
Adam.
very nice.
The store along with our own Chris Morton.
I was just kind of like, whoa. I mean, whoa. Vasu, what do you think about this deal, man?
I don't think it's a big secret. I thought they were talking about that when he first got cut. I thought the Patriots were going to jump all over him. I think the Bill Belichick guys and the Kraft ownership and everybody that I don't know if they were looking for something better because, he does have a little bit of, he's had a perceived attitude issue in terms of Carolina. You saw his post-game press conferences. That's what the public sees. But I've heard nothing but good things.
No, the white public. The white public, not the black public. The white public.
I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm just saying.
So that's the white public.
Okay. All right. I don't disagree with that to a point, but I also
but it's good to talk about.
Many people the post-game. I remember the Super Bowl post-game press conference. They got beat, but you have to go out and do your job. And when you just kind of throw your shoulders up and walk out on a press conference in the Super Bowl, that's not a good look. White, black, orange, blue, or whatever. You just can't do that as a quarterback of a Super Bowl team. That's just one example. He got in trouble last year for laughing at the fact that a woman reporter knew talking about passing routes, so that didn't help his. That was bad. That was bad, and he apologized. I don't know how much the woman reporter. I don't know the woman's reporter's name, but I don't know how much she accepted the apology or figured out. But it was not a good look for him laughing, going like, and I quote, "It's funny to hear a woman talking about the 9 route," and I'm like, "Oh boy, that's not going to go well for Cam Newton." And that kind of started his press conference career at Carolina, kind of going downward from there. And then the injuries, which are not his fault. He did more for that team from an injury standpoint than anybody realizes. You can't play quarterback in the NFL, college too, but in the NFL with a semi-separated shoulder. And he was taking a lot of flack for it. Fortunately, he had McCaffrey there for a lot of that period. And so with McCaffrey there, it was able to take some of the pressure off him running and throwing the ball as well too. And it even lined up McCaffrey quarterback in some sets. But everybody talked about Cam Newton going to the Patriots. They thought this would be a good fit. Just like all the other players before, Randy Moss's, Josh Gordon's, guys like that. They said if you can't turn it around with the Panthers, then maybe they can't be in the NFL. And that's not always the case because, they run a disciplined show. And if you can't conform to the Patriots way, then you're probably not a fit or you're a bad person for the league. I don't think that's true. I think the Patriots get too much credit for that, and I think the players get a little too much bad rap for that. But the fact is that everybody talked that might be a good fit for Cam Newton. I don't know if he's going to come in and compete for a starting job because Jarrett Stidham's there, and that's who they,
start. Are you
were looking to. But I'm not saying that he is or not. No, Zenny. You didn't hear what I said. I don't know what they told him. I'm just saying that Jarrett Stidham, when Tom Brady left to go to Tampa, Jarrett Stidham was a quarterback. And Bill Belichick said for 3 days in a row that Jarrett Stidham's going to be our guy right now.
Cam Newton was starting for the Patriots. Forget it, man. Forget it. Cam Newton.
There's no guarantee he's going to be a starter. Honestly, do you know if he's really healthy or not? A shoulder injury is really bad.
Cam Newton is starting for the Patriots, and I want to talk to you about something that
week one.
Hold on a second. I want to take the layers and get them out of the way. Right.
Okay. First of all, I'm in.
Okay. First of all, there's a conversation you have that reflects a white point of view. Okay. And basically it says, and I say this because I'm one of the few people I know of who has the same conversation regardless of whether I'm all white people or black people.
Yeah.
And this is public. Okay. This is the problem. All right. First of all, Cam, who I interviewed way back when he was drafted, okay, has a chip on his shoulder that goes back to, first of all, growing up around here in Atlanta, consistently being so picked on in terms of the media that it's made him more than prickly. And I'm not saying that he doesn't make mistakes, but excuse me, Bryn Roethlisberger was accused of sexual assault not once but twice. And
maybe 3 times for all we know.
My point is, people don't bring that up a lot, but when Cam does a little thing that has nothing to do with that, it's made to look like a big thing. And what black folks talk about consistently, okay, is how someone white will take something that they do and blow it up beyond proportion, whereas if a white person does the same thing, guess what? It's diminished. And there have been white players after 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 white players that have treated women less than and referred to women inappropriately, and yet it was not consistent billboard material. But with Cam, it is. Cam Newton is a man who is the classic definition of what Dr. Harry Edwards talked about a number of times with me when he was on my Super Bowl team to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland. He's written about it. The late Ralph Wiley, who was a fantastic columnist with Sports Illustrated.
I do.
Yeah. He had a book called When Black People Tend to Shout. And basically the whole point was, hey, look, and I was just talking about my mom in another context, and there's a movie out. Every time we do something, it's diminished, or it's explained away, or it's watered down. But if somebody watches, it's like, oh, it's great, oh, it's great, and it's kind of like, come on, give me a break. And then I could show a litany of examples of that. Cam, coming out of college here, was accused of stealing something. There was nothing that he actually ever stole. Okay? And throughout that he went from one type of offense, which is the veer, to another type of offense, which is a spread veer, to another type of offense, which is a variation of the spread veer, and excelled at every one and won a national championship. And so then, because people didn't like his attitude, didn't like his style, who were white, not black, because the media is so predominantly white, it's not fun. And it reflects a white point of view rather than a black one. You're going to have majority black men or women explaining what's going on. It's a white way of thinking. And so what happens is that within that context, all right, there are not enough of us, first of all, to just take them aside and say, hey, you know what, Cam, because I did this with I did this with an NFL quarterback very recently, a few years ago. I said, hey, look, your agents are firing you. They're trying to make you look bad at the draft. Here's how you need to handle it. There are not a lot of black people who will take a guy aside and talk to him as a kid, okay, and say, hey, here's how these adults are going to hurt you. And here's what you need to watch out for. All right. So when the Jets drafted the person I'm talking about out of West Virginia, he texted me back thanking me very much because his agents were racist assholes who tried to hang him out to dry for firing him. For him firing them, like he's the uppity black guy, all right? But Cam's thing, all right, is he assumes everybody is against him. It's a bad. I've even gotten this is on video. I was at Super Bowl for Super Bowl 50, the media day, right?
Yeah, the one we were at. Yeah, the one we were at together. Yeah.
And this is on video. I say, hey, Cam, I'm the first person to interview. He goes, oh, you're trying to steal my time, huh? Oh, and I'm just like, no, I'm not trying to steal your time, right? But the difference, I understand him. I don't agree.
Right.
All right. That's what I'm talking. I don't agree, but I understand. Whereas the people that parrot the idea that you express, they don't even know where it comes from. We are so.
Which idea did I say? Because I never said anything about him being black or white. I just said
no, but you should.
That was not a good look with the.
No, well, my point is in terms of how he responds or how he reacts to something. Okay, and my point is you're doing the trick again of focusing on one thing rather than understanding it in the total. Don't do that.
Okay.
And I'm saying that to my friends and everybody else. This world is changing like that.
Right.
All right. I mean, it is really rapid. Okay.
Right.
And too many people in sports have reflected a point of view. That's why it's good to have a conversation. Have reflected a point of view. Did I lose Vasu or did he just sort of drop out? Or maybe he'll be back. But the whole point is,
I'm here.
Okay. Too many people. Let's see here. Too many people reflect that, and they say, and don't understand. Okay. And don't understand at all why the person does need to ask them. All right. So what happens is that, and I think Vasu will be back, I guess. But my whole point is what happens is that this is why it's important. There are a handful of black reporters out there. And if you ever go to the National Association of Black Journalists conversations or anything else, that talk about is consistently about here comes Vasu. There he is. There he is. He's back. Okay. That talk that I'm talking to you about publicly is within the dinners of the National Association of Black Journalists. And what we have to do is get from a conversation that's over here racially and over there and have one conversation that sometimes, people disagree about things, But my point is with respect to Cam, all right, it's not a matter of rubber stamping everything that Cam does or anything like that, but it's understanding that this man has been prickly from the start. And there are people who don't, like Mike Mayock said publicly, and I have the video where he said it, and I got after him, that Cam Newton didn't have a heart. Deion Sanders got on public television and got after him for saying the same thing. Okay? So there's a lot of institutional racism that informs how Cam behaves. And what Cam sees when he sees someone who is female and in the locker room is he sees what some black folks will say. Because more often than not, that person is female is also white. And so what they'll say is, wait a minute, you have all of these qualified black writers who know football, okay? And you have like maybe 10 or 20 black football writers and commentators who are hunting for a job, and yet the people who are in charge of the media companies will give a platform to a young white blonde girl before anybody else. So what Cam is expressing is what other African Americans talk about. It's like, hey, do you really know football? Now, is it right to express it public like that? No, he shouldn't have done that. But Cam basically says what he thinks. All right. And
that was my only thing. Is that's not the way.
Exactly. But here's the reason it happens is because there's nobody talking to Cam who's black, right, or who has a black sensibility. And what I mean by that is there are tons of white folks who are in interracial relationships. Like my friend Hillary Allred is blacker than I am. All right. Her husband's Middle Eastern. Okay. She hears things at a race dog whistle level that even I miss. But this is the kind of sensitivity that you need to really, go forward and conduct yourself. Sports today isn't simple anymore. It's not like, okay, he did this or he did that. There's a social context to it, and
right, no doubt.
And that's and the whole point is that how I evaluate Cam is how I evaluated Cam when he was coming out in the draft, and people were saying all these ridiculous things about him. Like, for example, there are people who thought that Blaine Gabbert was going to be number one. And Blaine Gabbert, what they did was they trumped up the media that wrote about the draft. They trumped it up Cam Newton's negatives. There was a guy that wrote for USA Today, Jim Gabbert. Jim Gabbert wrote a piece that was so racist that this is what I did. When I was writing at sfgate.com, but still Zenny62 under the City Brights, and I wrote a piece that was directly critical of him. And I point out that every quarterback he named was actually a black quarterback, but he named it as if to say, oh, Cam Newton is in this tradition of black quarterbacks, but he didn't say black, okay? And he was trying to make it look like Cam could not be as great a pro quarterback as Blaine Gabbert. But the truth of the matter is that Blaine Gabbert played in a spread offense in Missouri. What did Jim Gabbert write? Jim Gabbert wrote that Blaine Gabbert played a pro-style offense. That was a lie. Either that or maybe Jim Gabbert just didn't know football. All right? So what happened, when I wrote that hit piece, that's exactly what it was designed to be. It was a hit piece. Okay? Right. I was at the red carpet, the NFL draft, 2000, the first one. I said, hey, Jim, remember that hit piece that was written about, race and everything else with Cam? I said, I'm the guy that wrote it.
I remember, yeah.
I said, I'm the guy that wrote it, okay? I wanted him to know where that was coming from because it was racist. And what I'm talking about is like people are tired of this stuff, man.
No doubt.
And that's why there's so many sports writers are getting lopped off truth. All right. That's why I've had people say that to me at parties with investors. Mm-hmm. People have ears to this stuff now. And they're white people with money.
Right.
Okay. And so my point is, right, now, do I excuse what Cam did with respect to the person, the football person, the person that I forgot her name.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get her name right. I want to say the woman, but no, it was completely wrong. But did Cam apologize? Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Okay, he apologized.
1,000%.
Okay, 1,000%. He knew he was wrong. All right, he knew it. When I heard it, I cringed. Okay.
Right.
Well, think about okay. Let's take that and put that over here, and then come down to Cam Newton way before that. All right. Or let's just talk about how he's been treated now, and let's work backward. Cam Newton is the greatest of all time quarterback in Panthers history. He has he's number 3 on the rushing, even though he's a quarterback. He's of the 5 top passing performances in the years, he's responsible for 3 of them. He has 25,300 yards passing, which is by contrast, Jake Delhomme, who retired in 2009, has 19,000. So you're not going to see him come back to basically padded numbers.
No.
All right. And Cam is
Jake Delhomme took him to the Super Bowl too.
With all of that, right. But with all that, they don't even say he's the greatest of all time. Why? Anyone black will tell you it's because, hey, he didn't do something that basically added up to not dancing. All right. He said something inappropriate. He said something inappropriate to the owner. They didn't make the owner feel great. And this is Dave Tepper, who I happen to like as a person from what I met, personally. All right. But I'm a different person. I talk white as people respond. Okay. There are people. You're right. And you know what I'm saying? There are people who are black. Yeah, there are people who are black who will say to me, "Well, you understand the white world," and I don't like that, but that's how people think.
I know.
Right?
I know.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm animated about this. Plus, for this reason, and I want to pass it all back to you. But I'm not going to avoid a tearful one, but I'll just simply say that Cam Newton is smart in a way Randy Moss is smart. And look at how people talked about Randy before he went to the Patriots.
1,000%.
All right. And I kept saying then, I said, no, that dude is smart. You just looking at how he does things, not what he does or says. But this dude understands football better than you realize, and he's going to be very successful. And sure enough, he was.
No doubt. Well, I'll give you 3 examples here in terms of the race card. I'll give you 3 examples here that happened. First of all, when I was playing
I hate the term race card, but I'll tell you why when I get my shot.
Well, let me make sure I say it. In terms of how people perceive me, I will tell you this, and they're quick story. I was playing college baseball, and I was pitching against a school in the Big West, and all I heard was, "Oh, look, Gandhi's pitching on the mound." Yeah. That's one. True story. I can give you all my teammates' numbers for that. Number 2 was after 9/11. My sister married a 3rd generation, half American, half Lebanese family. The guy's American, the mom's from Indiana. Last name starts with an A. Apparently after 9/11, when people were very sensitive about the attacks, you go through the phone book when we still had phone books in those days. Their names pop up in the phone book because they start with A. Young kids gets a call all of a sudden on the phone because it's in the phone book, says you all should go back to your country. So she's a young mom sitting at home, don't know if they're sitting outside the house or not. That's the second thing that has happened to my family. The third thing that happened is I had recently, in fact, this happened. Somebody told me because I went to school and got educated, and my dad came with a PhD and he prompted education. He said, "Wow, you act like a white person because you talk well." I'm going like, no, I know people who talk well that are not white as well too. So I get that. I get the race card. My point on Cam Newton is Cam Newton's a very smart guy. I like Cam Newton a lot. I think he's a great athlete. I think he's a great representative of the NFL. I think sometimes just like he's human like anybody else. We all put our foot in our mouth. And at that particular instance, he put his foot in his mouth. There's no doubt. I did not look at it one way or the other. I probably, in my younger days, before I knew any better, I probably said, "Oh, what do women know about sports in the 1970s and 1980s?" But I was a kid. You get educated on that stuff. That's a different story than going out in public in front of a microphone to say something like that. But the whole point of him being the greatest quarterback in Panthers history, there's no doubt in my mind he's the greatest quarterback in Panthers history. Everything that he did, if he wasn't, I'm sure, and you know what, and I'm saying this not because of white or black, and I really want to stress that out. I think he probably took a lot of Christian McCaffrey's touchdowns away by jumping over the line like Superman for fantasy football players. I joke about that. Please quote that. I have McCaffrey on my team. I'm going like, I don't care if you jump over the line. Christian McCaffrey needs a touchdown here so I can get my point. And
You just
that's
pissed
not a
off. You just pissed off is what.
football points thing. I'm not joking about that. And I'm sure he heard about that too. And I'm sure he probably thought of it in a different way. I'm joking about it, but in reality, when you're playing for first or second place, you're going like 22's in the backfield. Let's go. Hand it off. You don't need to get hurt again, Cam.
Yeah, but my point is, why would, knowing that Cam Newton leaps over anyway, why would you be stupid enough to pick McCaffrey over Cam Newton anyway?
Why would you let him? Why? Well, no, here's what I thought. I think, you know what, if you want to talk about football stuff, though, Zenny, if you want to talk about football stuff, there's no reason that he should be doing that all the time because there's so much chance of an injury, and he's your franchise quarterback. And I think that hurt him in his later Carolina years because he got hurt because he would always – I don't think I ever – you know what, I have to go back. I have all the NFL Network stuff from stuff that I do. I don't think he's
I'm glad you brought that up, though.
In any of the games
but I'm glad you brought that up, though, because that's one thing that –
I think he went head first all the time.
I think that's one reason, one example – I call it the things that I think get to Cam, right? One of them is, for example, all right, first year as a NFL quarterback, what does he do? He comes out.
He runs.
No. You weren't paying attention, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Are you kidding me? Offensive coordinator was Rod Chadinsky. Installed a spread passing offense. Cam Newton took over 4,000 yards his inaugural year.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, you're right.
All right.
You're right.
Passer. But then, and I first I thought this was deliberate. I thought maybe, like, oh my God, they're thinking, oh my God, this black quarterback is stupid. He's reminding us of Warren Moon. We have to like make him run so we can kill him. That's what it looked like.
Probably, yeah.
No. What logical reason would anybody have for turning away from an offense that worked? He threw the ball. He set records as a rookie.
I agree.
Okay. He could have had 8,000 yards on his second year like that, but for the buttheads at the top. Okay. And I'm saying that the race buttheads at top will make him run. It's stupid. That's why racism was a mental illness. It makes people do things that are against their best interest. It was in the Panthers' best interest to have him as a thrower. I was excited, man.
I agree.
Oh, my Lord. I was so excited, okay? Yeah. It's like, come on. A person with that kind of talent, best passing offense for him, short ball control, spread, okay? Have the running backs that run 4-4, 4-3, 4-2, 40. Get them close to the line like McCaffrey and boom, have them do the quick hitters. Okay, but these idiots became obsessed with Cam Newton as a runner, and I'm at Super Bowl 50, and I'm sitting there, man. South end, excuse me, actually, it's not the South end, but you know how.
I know where.
It's actually more west than South. Yeah. Right? It's like basically if you pointed a line through my chest, you're wound up in Hawaii. Okay, so. Right. My point is, I'm perfect end zone, man. And I'm like, dude, right? I mean, they are freaking giving him, and they are giving. I mean, just straight out giving. How many times? Giving them outs, okay? And they're not throwing it. They've got the receivers on the numbers. All they do is this. They're not testing it at all. It hurt to watch, man.
Yeah.
It hurt to watch it.
Yeah.
I was having a belly. I'm like, what are you doing? Couldn't believe it.
Were your seats behind the Carolina offense when he got sacked by Von Miller in the end?
I was on the other side.
I'll show you. You were on the other side. Okay.
I'll show you exactly where we
saw them from behind the offense too.
Yeah, I saw from the defense's point of view. Yeah. I wasn't on the other. The other end is toward the Caltrain station, toward the water. I was on the opposite end. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For those that are watching internationally, that's the Tasman Street side.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So I was basically.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's my area. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. And so basically, I am. What I'm doing is like calling up the game. This was where, if I can give you a quick. Yeah, here it is. Okay. this is, I'll put that on freeze, and then I'll put this over here, and I'll get the I will get the share screen. And share screen doesn't want to come up, does it? It's going to come up in a second. All right. As it's coming up, because it's slow, it will eventually pop up. But let me try this again. Share screen, share screen. So one thing is it's not popping up like I want it to. Here we are. Now it heard me. Okay. There we go. All right. This one, and then bam. All right. And then I will add to this and allow. And there we are. That's my seat. That was my seat, Buster.
Yeah.
And
okay.
They were booing Tom Brady. That was hilarious.
so basically, freeze this. Basically, that was my. So you remember the play?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good see.
So right, and so I believe I have some other scenes from that crime, if you will, and yeah, and so I was. Boy, I had a great time at StubHub. That's the man. These are Lady Gaga with the national anthem, Raiders, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
At any rate, I was trying to find one vantage
This is
point.
where I get to be old again and put my glasses on.
Oh, okay. But I was trying to find the vantage point one that I had. I have so many videos from this. I have volunteer vlogs. What else do I have? Super Bowl 50. This is I don't want to get off the track here, but
Yeah.
I have this is when they won the Super Bowl bid. It's a little history for you here. I was, this is when they won the bid.
The NFL awarded Super Bowl 50 to the Bay Area. We are extremely.
Remember that?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of work that's gone into this bid, head up by Daniel Lurie, on behalf of my family, on behalf of the team.
And they did a great job, but in the interest of my own ego, I'm going to fast forward because I got the first question.
2016, right? 2016, right? Because that's the first year they moved to Levi's. Was 2016 when they announced it.
25,000 fans, instantaneous Wi-Fi. It's never been done before. And it's going to be a fan experience. So again, I think it's.
I'm sorry, 2014 they moved in.
Together, from the NFL to Levi's to. We've had the.
All right.
Questions?
Yeah, when did you know you had the right bid? I mean, as a guy who's been on the other side, when did you know that?
Well, listen, when the York family and the NFL invested in helping get a new stadium, that was a huge milestone for us. We've had the ability to host an event of this caliber for a very long time. We just didn't have the stadium. Now we have Levi's Stadium, and the Bay Area is thrilled.
Jed, where does this fit in?
Now, there's a backstory here that I have to get to that kind of left me with a bad taste in my mouth at the time. Is that I felt that when they started it, they didn't ask for my advice or anything, and so when they looked at each other and laughed like that, I just, I still to this day, there's a lot of backstory that I felt was add up to disrespect, and it adds up to also one reason why I started my media company, because you have so many black folks who just do something, and there's time spent sweeping it under the rug. In that case, they had the original story is that San Francisco was trying to go after the Super Bowl that Oakland went after in 2000 under my direction as the bid head. By fast forward, getting a new stadium built was the gift for that. They get the gift of the Super Bowl. The problem was that how do you make sure that there are events, all right, that are in the East Bay as opposed to the West Bay? I thought we could have done a better job, but there are people who didn't want to tell the story of how Oakland almost got the Super Bowl. One person did, that was Monty Poole, because Monty had written about it and Monty told the truth that it was my bid. Okay. But I went to Tom Vakar, KTVU.
I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
But he ignored it. He did nothing. Okay. And so there are a lot of people who did not. That's why I started my own media company. That's why, to be honest with you, I'm not crying for what's happening with media because of the way that I've been treated. All right.
I agree.
And it's been really,
I agree.
It's been awful. So my point is, those guys, I don't know what it was. I mean, I know what it was about, but to see them sort of laugh like that,
yeah,
it's still to this day is kind of like, oh, geez, really? And I like Jed as a person, but it's kind of like, and I want, and one day I'll ask him, what was up with that? Because it's not a good look. All right.
No, I agree with you 1,000%.
Right, and not only that, remember the Super Bowl city that was in Justin Herman and the other.
Our friend Beth Schnitzer, our friend Beth Schnitzer, all over that.
Right. Not only that, Beth was my marketing director.
I know.
Right.
I know. That's how I met you.
That's right. But also, do you realize that the NFL took my concept for Jack London's NFL Playland and they created the Super Bowl city concept from that?
Right on Embarcadero. Yep, I know. We walked through there. I walked to the NFL Network studio because I had
that was in my
affiliation with the backside. Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, and so my point is, I
walked all over that area for one day. I spent one day that Friday walking all through NFL City because I hadn't been there all week. Were
it not for my media company, or if I died, and that was my fear. My thought is, I'm going to die, and they're gonna sweep under the rug what I've done. That's why.
I have anything to do with it.
I appreciate that. But I mean, just to come back home for a second. That was my seat at Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know.
And I want to thank the NFL for that.
We're going back to your seat. Yeah, that's where we're going back to.
Yeah.
I mean, props to Beth. I mean, we had I was working for it wasn't a Fox Super Bowl, so I wasn't working the Super Bowl, and I don't cover the NFL as much anymore. But it was Tony Bruno and Robin that invited me to be on their media deal, and so I called Beth and I said, "Hey, you got to come. You got to come meet Tony Bruno and Robin. They're great. Robin Austin. You got to meet them." So she finally had a few days. She finally had a half hour, and she came over to our media table over there. And I've known Tony a long. For those that don't know, Tony Bruno, national broadcaster. I've known him for about 14 years now. He's back in Philadelphia living life, and he's on his podcast, and then they're on Sirius XM, and every once in a while I'll get on and he'll say, "What a great Super Bowl that," in his voice, his voice, right? It's Philadelphia. "What a great Super Bowl that was. We had a great time, and that glass house party, Vasu got our sponsorship and all this other stuff, and it was fab." No, I love Tony Bruno. He's a national guy, but he acts, how they say it, you act national, but you treat people like you're local.
Yep.
That's Tony Bruno and Robin Austin in a heartbeat.
And speaking of which, Tony Bruno and Robin Austin, good people, they are. I think you might find this. There you go. Somebody These Steinberg party in Miami this year.
At Twitch.tv now. Don't forget Twitch.tv. Twitch. You got to get on YouTube too. Well, Twitch is our main source, but you can see us everywhere on YouTube.
Some of the replays will be on YouTube, but the Twitch Live, over 1 million viewers.
1 million viewers this week on Radio Row. First time ever. Whoa. Twitch put us on their main page this week as the first sports show on that platform. So if you up this week, 1 million viewers on Twitch this week on Radio Row.
We can thank Twitch enough for putting us on the front page and finally letting people find Tony.
Yes,
on
absolutely.
Twitch.
Absolutely. Now sounds like we're getting the new media thing worked out, yeah? Oh, absolutely. Digital media is the future, as you know. Yes, yeah. Again, the terrestrial radio is always going to be there. Although every day I see more radio stations getting rid of people. Just everybody's getting fired, and they're consolidating. So, especially old guys like me, you're not that old, but the older generation of people. Thank you. Thank you. Good, man. Thank you. Good. I'm getting older, and you stay the same age every year. Robin looks great every year. That's fantastic. But if you don't embrace digital media, you'll lose a younger guy. How do you know I'm not a younger guy? I just look. That's the spirit. There you go.
So anyway, it's a lot of fun. We do it every day. We have a studio in our wine cellar in Philadelphia, but we like to travel, so it looks good. You don't need $1 million worth of equipment. We have great cameras. People think we're in an actual TV studio, but it's only our wine cellar. So you can watch us every day on Twitch TV, Tony Bruno Show. And we have a lot of fun. That's the first and foremost. You have to have fun doing this.
Shifting gears, Kobe Bryant, your thoughts?
As a Philly guy, Kobe Bryant, Lower Marion. I knew his dad, Joe Bryant, who played for the 76ers. So I go back before Kobe was even born. His dad, Joe Bryant, we used to call him Jelly Bean, was a great 76er basketball player. And little did he know, and anybody else know, that his son Kobe would become one of the all-time greats, because Joe was good. Kobe is great. And so growing up, Lower Marion, Kobe obviously had left a mark on Philly. You saw the memorials outside of the high school where he went. And then, of course, with the Lakers, where I lived there for 11 years, I was blessed to be there during the whole Kobe Bryant Shaq era when they won all those championships at Staples Center. So it's been an honor, and obviously the loss is still every single day. I wake up and I say, how is it possible that Kobe Bryant is not with us anymore?
I can ask you guys a question about how mutually about bringing up the assault, which I thought was offensive myself.
Oh, it's just so inappropriate. Absolutely 1,000% inappropriate. You don't do that. Not when people, especially the family.
And it's not just Kobe's family. I mean, it's all the people. 9 people lost their lives. And a couple of reporters actually were suspended. And there's one comedian who put a really offensive tweet about Kobe Bryant. And now he's been suspended. He lost his agent.
She was reinstated 2 days ago.
No, this is a comedian who does comedy on Twitter. Yeah, the reporter was reinstated. Again, I don't think people should lose their job. I think they should be reminded that there are times to do things.
Right.
And you don't pull a 3-year-old story hours after someone dies in a tragic helicopter crash. It's not like Kobe was a mass murderer.
It's a 17-year-old story.
Exactly.
2003.
No, but the story there was a story written 3 years ago
I saw that.
that was reposted. And so, if that's what you're going to resort to as a reporter on the day, because you don't know anything enough about Kobe Bryant, that you're going to go onto Wikipedia and see what he did wrong so that you can bring that back up. That's just to me is callous. You have no sense of dignity or no sense of respect.
And you know what I found?
I want to say something right there. That's what we're talking about as far as Cam Newton is. People bring up little things as opposed to big things, and saying, black folks saying that they're treating him like that because he's black. The same issue with Kobe Bryant at his time, but there are people like Tony who are basically pointing out the fact that this is a new day. Remember, this interview happened before the George Floyd death, which gave rise to the rebirth of Black Lives Matter as a mainstream movement. Which just shows you how withered Tony is, right? I mean, he just thinks
Tony is the hippest 68-year-old man I know, and like I said, I've known him for 13 years, and I met Robin like after they started dating, like 3 or 4 years. She was a producer and now the girlfriend, and I met her in 2009 at the Cambiar auction when they were doing it at the then Acme Chop House, now Public House, and she came up to me and she was so funny. She was like she didn't know who I was, and she was like, I was just there bidding on stuff, and she goes, are you a personality? And I go, oh yeah, I'm a personality, but probably not one you heard of. So, and ever since then we've been friends. And I called the show. I called their show the other day. Now that I got my podcast going, and I said, Tony likes to talk about the gambling spreads and all this other stuff. I said, you got to have me on your show. He let me pin my podcast on the show on Friday. I talked to him. He called me on my birthday and said, you want to come on our show? I'll give you birthday props. I said, I go, this one's for Robin. I go, because the great cheesecake, I don't know if you saw it on my Facebook page, but that lovely cheesecake I had that I got is from Menlo Park, California, where Robin's mom lives. Oh. So he said, "Oh, Tony's like, oh, you're in the middle of a pandemic and you're going to Menlo Park. They don't let people like me go into Menlo." I go, "What do you mean they don't let people like us go into Menlo Park?" You go, "Oh, East Palo Alto for me, baby." I'm like, "Settle down, Tony." No, he was so funny about that, but yeah, no, they're tremendous people, and they're people of the people, and yeah, everybody gets along with them. And he was joking. He goes, "People get along with us off the air too. We're like regular people. We entertain and but all this other stuff." But yeah, no, that was good. That was this year's Super Bowl, because I noticed it was after Kobe Bryant's death. So
Yeah,
I
you-
hope I get invited to. I was almost going to make Miami this year, but like I said, I don't cover the NFL. I was trying to use the Fox Sports card to get out to Miami, since I have a place in St. Petersburg, but I couldn't get out there, and it didn't work out. But they invited me. I got their sponsorship here when they were in San Francisco, so it worked out well for me that year, and I was able to run into you, and I was able to run into Beth, and a bunch of people that I knew, and a bunch of people that I met for the first time at Moscone Center. But that's what you were talking about with the Oakland, with it being in the East Bay, because how many complaints were there? How many complaints were there for being all the events were in San Francisco when the game was in Santa Clara? I think the biggest event we had was and I forgot what network they were on, but I remember calling the show when they were working for the other network, Sporting News or Sports Block Nation or something like that. But I just remember seeing the biggest events were the Saints coming into. The Panthers coming into the Marriott in downtown San Jose, and the Broncos, who were designated the home team, were at the Marriott next to the stadium. And then the only other thing that happened during the week was all the social media about Cam Newton going to the great La Victoria Taqueria at midnight. And I can tell you, as a San Jose State student and as a downtown San Jose proprietor, it's only 10 minutes from my house. Late night burritos and tacos at La Victoria Salsa with the orange sauce and everything.
I didn't know that.
Look, I have a taco sitting in my refrigerator right now.
Truth be told, you're looking at a guy who just heard of the Dutch Goose.
The Dutch Goose in Palo Alto, in Menlo Park, right?
Thanks to Greg Haywood and Brian Fitzpatrick and Mike Silver, my budding buddies since I was at Cal. When I was 21 and they were 18, we were all, doing what we all did as students. I was a grad student, they were undergrad. I had never heard of it. And
the Dutch Goose in Menlo Park?
Yeah. After
you were talking about Berkeley. I thought there might have been something else.
No. This was at Menlo Park. I never
Great place.
I never knew it was famous. So, yeah. Hey, speaking of fame, I got a little surprise, everybody.
Yeah.
Take a look. This is related to Cam Newton, and I'm going to let her rip.
Where am I sitting at? Right there.
Now that voice is mine, folks. I'm a designated warm-up guy at the draft, or at least when they did it like this.
Right there in the middle, right there. There you go. How do you feel?
I feel?
Yeah.
I feel great.
See? First question. Was I lying?
How do you feel? Yeah.
I always ask that. But anyway, there you go.
I feel great. I ain't gonna lie to you.
What thoughts are going through your head right now?
I'm ready to get the show on the road right now. I understand that this is what this process is about, and it's a warmth in my heart knowing that I'm going to an excellent city in Charlotte, an excellent organization with excellent people around it that's running the organization. Mr. Richardson, Mr. Herney, Coach Rivera, and I'm ready to do some work.
What do you take from all this? What have you learned?
I learned a lot. I learned that you guys have a job to do in critiquing each athlete to the court. But at the same time, I have embraced this process and understand that everything is under the watchful eye right now from this point on, and it has been for me. But nothing's going to change, and but to progress to be to be great.
Cam, do you feel that was already like sports? Is it your goal to be the starting quarterback this year?
I can say I can't answer that question, but it's a goal for me to consistently, on a consistent basis, to be to challenge myself to get better on a daily basis. I don't know when that call is going to happen, but each day I'm just going to go out and learn something about each this whole offense about Coach Jesus.
What do you feel?
You know what occurs to me right here, Vasu, is that
Yeah.
you could take those questions
Mm-hmm.
and those answers and apply them to the Patriots situation. What do you think?
No doubt.
I
I agree with that.
Yeah. Let's listen a little more here.
Improve upon it.
Just the consistency is playing quarterback. This whole transition from the collegiate level to the NFL, I understand that preparation is going to be key. And, I have to, that's part of the maturation process. in this whole transformation. And you know, I'm willing to make that step, and we'll see how it goes.
Hey Cam, when did you find out that the Panthers had actually decided to make that pick? And second part of that question, can you describe how long of a day this has been you waiting for this?
I found out about 15 minutes ago. I put closure to it 15 minutes ago. Like I said, I didn't know. I thought you guys was gonna tell me something because I was out there in the dry. For a long time, I would go to sleep with questions like, where am I going? And you know, just moments ago, I just realized it and found out. But you know, as soon as Coach Rivera called me, it put a warmth in my heart knowing that this deal is done, and my job, to some degree, my work has paid off.
So you actually went to sleep today, you said?
Last night?
No, did you sleep today or what was today?
Oh no, I can't sleep right now. Man, this organization has kept me up more than anything.
I want to put that there, and I want to show. First of all, it's 13 minutes, and I want everybody who wants to watch that. The link to that is here. If you want to watch the full 13-minute interview from 2011 when he was drafted, and Zenny 62 Media was there, and then also take note though of these tweets because in this reaction from Twitter that I want to point to because what I find quite interesting about this that I'm about to show you is simply that you could act. This is almost like the rebirth of. I'm going to call this the rebirth of Cam Newton. I mean, watch this, folks. Watch this. Okay, this is right. Look at this. I'm excited as I don't know right. I don't know what right now. All praise to God. Dropping content tomorrow. I hope. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like he's been drafted in the first round all over again. I can actually feel his emotions through those words, right? I mean, he is like.
You know what my favorite part was? You know what my favorite part of that draft interview was?
What?
Danny, my favorite part was, and I love it because when they're young kids and they don't realize, and I don't know if it's being jaded or getting famous or whatever. My first part was, I know you all in the media, quote unquote. I know you all in the media have a job to do, and I respect that.
Right.
Everybody says that when they get drafted, and then all of a sudden
you
you
know,
find out that they're not there to.
But in his particular unique.
Yeah. I know. That's why I pointed out. But a lot of people say I respect the media and I'll do what I can for the media and all that. But then as years go by, then when you kind of when they come back and try and answer, not Cam Newton. I'm not talking about Cam Newton. I find it pretty funny when athletes say, "Oh yeah, you know, the media has a job to do and all this," but then all of a sudden 5-6 years when they get big time, and it's going to happen to all of us when they get big time. They go, "I don't have time for the media right now."
Well, no, that's not
what happened
about in his case.
Not him. I'm not talking about him.
I want to mention that for those who might.
I hear that a lot. I hear that on a lot of draft.
Right,
picks,
but I know that in his specific case, okay.
Yep.
In his specific case, it was just days from. First of all, Mayock saying that he would take Blaine Gabbert over him.
Right.
All right. It was just days from Jim Gabbert comparing Cam Newton to every black quarterback there was, as if that's the only pool he belonged in. It was just days from people basically penciling Gabbert in as the number one and not Cam Newton, except those who really knew.
I agree.
So
anybody that watched Cam Newton play, he was top 1, top 2 quarterback.
Well,
football this year, black, white, or whatever.
Excuse me. Whoa, he was the national champion that year.
I know he was.
Okay?
I know he was.
And my point is that if he were white, the conversation would be completely different. Look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had one great year. One.
I agree.
Right? Not even as good as Cam's. Well, technically, no, that's me talking crazy. Okay, it was better than Cam, but he had one great year. The previous, why? Because of Joe Brady as offensive coordinator.
No doubt.
All right.
I don't think he disputes that either.
And so my point is that they were all ready to anoint Joe Burrow as the guy that's going to save the NFL and all this. In my mock draft, I did not take him number one because I don't think he's going to live.
Who'd you take number one?
Are you kidding, Chase? You have to be brainless.
I get it.
You have to be freaking brainless to pass on Chase.
Yeah, but boy, I'll say this. I'm only going to disagree on one point here because I watched the Bengals. You remember when the Bengals came into Oakland last year?
I was there.
Mid-October. I know you were there. We didn't run into each other, but I was working for a national radio network producing for the game. Ted Robinson was doing the game, and my friend Doug Plank was the analyst, and they asked me to come work stats and production for them. We were talking to Doug Plank for those that don't know, Doug Plank was a great defensive player in the 70s and 80s. He wore 46 for my Chicago Bears, and that Buddy Ryan's favorite player, and that's where the 46 defense came out of, off of Doug Plank's jersey. Anyway, so we were talking, and I respect his opinion because of his defensive aptitude. He said the Cincinnati Bengals have a great pass rush, and they have great secondary. Their linebackers were not very good in covering the receivers, but they need somebody on offense because, unfortunately, Andy Dalton was hurt, and if Ryan Finley was going to be their quarterback. And so they knew that they were not going to keep Dalton, and they knew that they had to get a quarterback, and they were going to be the number one draft pick, that Joe Burrow was going to be their draft pick. Chase Young on that defense, which was already they passed. We had all the stats and everything. It was unbelievable how good they were because they held the Raiders to 17 points, but everybody thought the Bengals were a terrible team. And I think that Chase Young would have been a great pick for anybody. There's no doubt. I wish the Bears had him. We were too far down the list. But the fact is that in Joe Burrow's defense, that with Andy Dalton already pretty much going to be gone, Ryan Finley was not going to be their quarterback, and they needed to get a quarterback in there for 2-14 teams. They made the right pick for that.
I never believed that quarterback. The problem I felt it was design. They have an ugly tendency to rely on what I call as a horizontal offensive approach.
Right.
Consists of plays that are 37 years old in their design. And they look.
I saw it. I remember. Well, they didn't trust them. That's why they didn't trust them. They ran
a play 3 straight times. That was a variation of a play that Bill Walsh designed when he was with the Bengals, and he had Booby Clark as running back, and they were running split back formations. And they ran it 3 times. The reason it didn't work was because the Raiders' defensive end had long arms that could basically alter the pass route. And so my point is, why the hell are you calling the same play 3 times in a row? It's their brain. Joe Burrow is not going to solve that problem. Here's some. This is where I was sitting.
From the 37-yard line.
See, there's an example I'm talking about. All right, let's take a look at this play real quick. All right. Okay. Oh, that's the second play. But here. Oops.
I remember that sequence. Yeah, they couldn't get the ball downfield because they couldn't protect this kid. If he didn't have a receiver to throw to, then he was running.
They have some fundamental schematic issues, and I was looking for
offensively. Yes, they did.
Here we go.
Coverage on the outside. Safeties were going that way, and the line did not give them enough time because if they crossed. I'm trying to remember this play here, but I think they crossed the. I think they crossed the outside receiver with the inside receiver.
Not here
to try and create a natural pick on the 2 DBs because you can see the safety right there in the middle. He was leaning.
That was not this play.
Left.
Watch this. That was not this play.
Okay.
See, he's wide open.
He's wide open, right? And that was Finley's problem, and that's why we were joking about that Ryan Finley is not the answer for Zach Taylor's offense, and that's why he went for quarterback.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. This is a great play design, okay? There's nothing wrong with it.
The design's great, but the execution by the quarterback. I'm saying it's Ryan Finley, not the execution.
There's nothing wrong with the execution. How can you – the only way there'll be a problem with the execution of this play is if he overthrew him. This dude is wide open. All right? He's wide open, Okay,
Yeah.
that was great. My point is, this is one of the rare occasions, and not only that, you have to go back. This is one of the rare occasions where they actually had a good call because they were not emphasizing horizontal throws. In other words, throws that were going, out to the sidelines. What they very intelligently, what they did, okay, they figured, look, the Raiders are not covering
down there, right? Blitz from down there, right?
our tight end with they're not covering our tight end with their outside linebacker defensive end. They're rushing him.
Right.
So what did they do?
He blitzed. Yeah, he blitzed right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And boom, they made the Raiders pay for it. Okay. That was smart, but there wasn't enough of that. Okay. You don't have to.
Right. That's my point. That's my point. That's the Ryan Finley point.
My point is, though,
they held the Raiders offense to 17.
But you don't need to have a great quarterback to do that sort of thing. You don't need Joe Burrow. I can get you to do that. Okay. They could have taken Chase Daniel. They could have taken Chase Daniel, got better players down the road, and not done that.
Chase Young, not Chase Young.
I'm sorry, and got better players down the road. They didn't need to do that. All right, it's up here that's the problem.
I get it.
That's what I'm saying.
Draft picks are a draft pick. I know Chase Young is going to be a madman in Washington, but I'm actually excited to see how Joe Burrow does in that division with
I'm excited. I'm excited to see anybody new, but I don't expect. Look, it's not Joe Burrow I expect stuff from. It's the head coach and the offensive coordinator. And I'm going to say this: if they don't, I'm not going to count this year because it's weird. So they got to pass this year, but next year, different story. Different story.
Yeah. I bet the Bengals get 6 wins this year.
They could.
I don't know what their over under is. I don't know what their over under is. I'll check that out on my other show, the gambling show. But I think that the Browns are overrated again this year. I don't know if they can do it. New head coach. I don't know. I didn't really like his Minnesota offense. I mean, he had Dalvin Cook. That was their offense. And Kirk Cousins has the problems. They did nothing against the Niners in the playoff game with that offensive staff. So Kevin Stefanski. So we'll see what the Browns
come back and talk about that one because I want to get somebody on this show. I'm not going to name a name unless they are available. Talk about how this season is different because you don't have the normal schedule. Everything's off.
Everything is off, but Commissioner Goodell, I call him the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz because sometimes they just power through without realizing what's going on in society. So they're looking for their heart sometimes, and I think the draft and the free agency period they went by schedule. Remember how much flack they took for putting the draft on? Remember how much right in the beginning of the pandemic? Remember how much flack they took for free agency going on? Yeah, you couldn't go get physicals. Remember they were doing the combines, right, when China was coming down hard at that point in mid to late February. You know what? Hey, we're the NFL. We're $1 billion. You know what? Hey, you know what? We're gonna. And you know what he said last week, right? When Mike Greenberg did that special with all the commissioners of all the leagues, and he said, "We know there's going to be positive tests, but we're going to play." And I don't know if that was like, "Damn you all" or whatever. I don't know if you saw that special that ESPN did.
It's almost like
Mike Greenberg.
Vasu, it's like the league has been affected by the Las Vegas. It's like, what problem? There's no problem. What?
There's no problem.
Wow.
But he said, and I quote, and I wish I had the capability to do it on my phone, but he said, "We know there's going to be positive tests, but now we have answers and we have more knowledge that we'll be able to isolate." And I kind of believe that because they're only around other people 1 day a week, but they can self. Well, I almost said self-medicate, but that's a different conversation. But they can train themselves during the week, and they can test people, and they can take temperatures, and they can do that all during the week with nobody else around there except essential staff. It's going to be on Sundays when they're going to have to do that.
Coming back, I have to close this out. Cam Newton, I predict 11-5 season if we get a full season in the NFL with the Patriots. Automatic lock for the playoffs and possibly the Super Bowl. I'm making that claim right here. Boom.
Okay.
Let's say here.
I just got a text from my friend Dan Hanks, Palo Alto bartender extraordinaire for 20 years, one of my best friends, big time Patriots fan. Oh, he texted me, and I said, "What about Newton? What about Cam Newton going to his Patriots?" And he said, "Oh, it could be a bridge for Stidham, or they could compete with Jarrett Stidham, but he's not sure exactly how they're going to go. But if you want to talk Patriots with somebody, that's the guy to annoyingly talk to. But he's definitely somebody to talk to."
Let me put it this way.
We'll see. I'll be very interested to see what Bill Belichick does with it.
Newton's starting. He's going to absorb the offense. They're going to march to the playoffs. you'll be very happy. Okay, and Boston people,
You will be. I'm not a Patriots.
Boston people, don't be racist to the guy. Okay,
Yeah.
please. Okay, I'm serious. It's kind of like, get over it, fellas. All right, we'll be back, folks.
I hope he's healthy. That was the only thing that I was worried about him was whether he's going to go to the Bears or not, because I didn't know how healthy his shoulder was, because I'm a big Bears fan.
They wouldn't sign him without a physical. I mean, so that's out the window. I mean, of course he's healthy.
Now you can.
The Patriots will not sign him without a physical.
Right. They did that. Great to talk to you, Zenny.
All right, man. Stick around backstage. Folks, we'll see you tomorrow. All right. All right. Cool. Thanks.